Is my screen visible?
Yeah.
Okay. So today we will look at how to work with WebSockets with FastAPI. So WebSockets, what it does, it's basically a real-time communication. So imagine two hosts clients connect on a specific port, and the server basically can forward traffic to particular port, and it will be consumed by all of the clients that are currently connected to it. So the main use cases of WebSockets are basically two. One is we use it for real-time chat applications, and we use it for push notifications and notifications handling. So uh, for WebSockets in FastAPI, if we go on the official documentation page, this is the official documentation of FastAPI WebSocket page. We just have to pip install WebSockets in the version environment that we're currently using, and there is an example that is given here. So I will come to what I wrote and what is the difference between this and that example. So wherever you will see that they have given an example of a chat application or whatever, it will be a public chat application, a forum type chat application, not a private chat application that has internal message routing. So I will demonstrate that. So here basically it demonstrates how it will work, and here it also uses a connection manager, but this connection manager is nothing but it will do the same thing. It will open a notice board or dashboard, and everyone is connected, so it will be broadcasted to all of the users. No private chat functionality will be there. It will be forwarded to all the users. So let's open a file. Just let me create a new file. This is the basic example that was given. So I will say fast API chat 1. I will put it in my D drive. It will be fine. So it uses just the WebSockets and the fast API. I will just activate the environment. So I will go there. If I run, so if we check what the name of the application is, it is app. So our is fast API chat. So I will say fast API chat, but we will say colon app. It is running. So if this is the basic example, so I will tell you what is the difference between them. So if we copy this and open in a browser window, I'll just paste it here. So I will paste another browser window also. I'll just drag it out, and you can see if I type here. Okay, the WebSockets I think not there. So basically, for some reason, their example is not working, but it will basically work as like other. Whenever one people responds, everyone that is connected to the particular endpoint will also get this message. So let's go to our example. So this is an example of broadcast and public chat application. So if we go to our application, let me close all this. Okay. If we go to our chat application, it has internal chat routing. So what it does, let me just show you the on how it is working. Let me put this one and go to private chat, and same. I will just type here. I will type app and app. So let's open this. I will give it chat room. So any ID will do, but I will say chat one and a username. So any username, I will say Shantanu and I will press enter. So one chat room is opened. This is a particular private chat room. So you can imagine this as an ID or a chat room. So, and if I open another window and I paste it here and I say chat one also, but I will say, let's say anyone, Rajesh, whatever. So both people are connected to the uh, same chat room. So if I type here hi, so I have typed. So Rajesh, from Rajesh I've typed hi. So it is coming from my right hand side because I have typed it. It is coming to the left hand side of Shantanu's chat. So if Shantanu types anything, so it is coming on the right hand side because Shantanu typed it. It will come to the left hand side to Rajesh because it is the receiving end. So how is this happening? So this is a private chat application implementation. So this is basically how chat applications made on the rudimentary point. So you can imagine this as an ID. So you can build your application where these are IDs that are specified to each chat. And when a chat window is open, that particular ID endpoint is open for that. So those two people, or wherever it is a group chat, then multiple people can connect in this ID. So how is this happening? Let's explore the code. So first of all, let's check the HTML. So this is just the base HTML. I'm referencing some style sheets here. So these are just some styles that I found on the internet to like make it presentable. So this is the base block. So here, if you guys ever work with Django or anything, you are familiar with the Jinja templates. So this is the main block. This upper side and this lower side will be the base of every other thing that we inherit in this inside this block. So uh, this block is coming, and then if I go to the chat room, it is inheriting from the base HTML. So it is inheriting all these things. So this part and this part, and with this part, it will also append also this chat parts, everything that is in the chat section, this block body will be appended in that base HTML under this navigation bar. So what is happening in the chat HTML? If we go there, you can see. So there is an input field. There is an input field and there is a button. And whenever, so this is the input field and this is the button. So this is the input field and this is the button. This is the navigation bar. Nothing special here. So what is happening? So from the URL, I'm just splitting and getting the room name and the current user. So these are the two parameters that are coming. So this is the room name and this is the current user. And I'm checking whether my connection is HTTP or HTTPS based on the WebSocket protocol will be WebSocket secure or WebSocket on the general. So the WS key. Then I'm creating a WebSocket with my host name and the WebSocket endpoint and the room name. This is the room name that will connect. So basically the URL will look like this. Okay. So the URL will look like till this. Okay. So the here it is HTTP, but it will be WS 127.0.0.1 colon 8000 slash chat one, and then it will be WS. Sorry, so the WebSocket endpoint. Rajesh would not be there because Rajesh is basically our HTTP endpoint, but the WebSocket endpoint just it is concerned with the room name, nothing else. Then I'm creating a element that is messages, and This is the check WebSocket function. Nothing. If the WebSocket is closed, then every 5 seconds I'm checking if the WebSocket is closed, just reconnect. If the WebSocket, the previously created WebSocket variables ready state is closed, then just reconnect it every 5 seconds. And this is the on message. So whenever a WebSocket is connected to its server, it is the on message function is available to us. So it will be fired whenever a new message is received in the WebSocket. So what is happening here? I'm just creating a li tag here. Okay. So here we got the messages, and here we're getting the li tag, and we are setting the class and whatnot. There are CSS classes here that I defined. So this is nothing special, just some styling that will make it look good. And this is, I'm just clearing the float. So if you guys know CSS, just clearing the float. And this is the data. So event that is coming. So whenever a message is received, we are getting the event. So we are getting the data, we're parsing that, we're getting the message from it. So where this message is coming from? So how do you know that the event data has message in it? We will look at it shortly. So we are creating a node and the sender node, and where this is basically just we're creating the message node, that the message that is being received. So this is the message node, and based on, so we already defined our current user, right? From the URL we're getting that. So here it is Rajesh. So it is our current user. So whenever we receive the message, we're checking the sender string. So whenever we're sending the message, so in WebSocket we can do two things. We can send messages, and we can receive message on the on message command, on the message received on event trigger. So whenever we're sending the message, we're creating a dictionary in Python, or we can say a JavaScript object in JavaScript. So there is the message. So where is the message? So this is just the input value they're getting from here. This is the input value. So that would the thing that we're typing there. So this is the input value we're getting, and the sender is the current user because we are sending the message. So this is going to the server, and it is being received to another client on message. So whenever that is received, it is creating all the tags and defining all the stylings. And whenever that is done, it is checking if the sender string that is being received from this sender string, when we're getting the on message, so the sender string event.sender, is it same as the current user that we're receiving from the URL? If it is not, if it is yes, then float it to right and set the styling accordingly to the right side. Otherwise, set the styling accordingly to the left side. Okay. And we're just scrolling to top. This is nothing special. We're appending all the tags and messages, and that's it. So this is on the JavaScript end. Anybody has any questions regarding here?
No.
Okay, cool. So this is not, I was about to do this with React, but Node is not installed on my machine, so I pivoted. So anyways, so we can see that how the JavaScript end is working. So let's check on the Python end, how things are working there. So don't mind this flagging. The proper environment variable environment is Python environment is not set here. That is why it is showing this not present error, but it is not an error. So what I'm doing, I'm just defining a FastAPI application. So here I added a user router also, because I was thinking to include authentication. But since we are using Jinja templates, the JWT authentication won't work here. That is why I didn't added authentication on the JWT, because we have, if we need to add JWT authentication, we have to use a front-end framework or something that, or you write the thing with jQuery on a responsive web front-end. So I didn't do that, but I can show you guys how authentication work if you guys are interested. So how JWT authentication works, we just define a JWT authentication token. So this is a standard scheme that is being copied from FastAPI's documentation. So this is standard. So you set the expiry time. So based on that, you can get the current user also. So if you guys want to see how authentication works, this is not important in this case. I will show you after I demonstrate the WebSocket end. Just let me know, because currently authentication is not used here. But if you guys want to know how JWT authentication works in FastAPI, I can demonstrate if we have time after this. All right, let's go ahead. So this is a route I added for user creation. That is in the user creation part, that was part of the authentication. So it was a router that I added here. Ignore this part currently. So I created an app that is FastAPI. I defined all the middleware. So I added a cross middleware and allowing origins app from every origin I'm allowing. So what is this cross middleware? Whenever we're accessing FastAPI through a front end, let's say React that is running on a different port. Let's say React by default runs on port 3000 if we are developing it. So FastAPI won't let you connect to it unless you define a cross middleware here. So this is by default. I'm just allowing cross middleware and allowing every origins and every methods and every headers. All right. So this part is just for creating tables. So we'll come back to this if you guys want to know how authentication works. Otherwise, we can skip this. All right. So what is this? So this is something really cool. So to add a static path, we use FastAPI app.mount and particular directory that we mounted, and to what path we're trying to mount it. So what do I mean by that? So what directory that I have my CSS file in, it is inside static, right? So static/static, and the directory name is static, so we add it without slashes, and the name of the endpoint that we want to access the static files on. So I also named it static. So what does this look like in if we add the URL in Jinja? So you can see URL for static and path. So how does that work if I see on the browser? So if I go on the browser and I just type static and styles.css. Styles.
Styles.
Yes. You can see the static path is working. So that is how static paths work in FastAPI. Okay. So we'll come back to it. So you can define the Jinja templates like this, like statics and wherever the path is. Cool. So templates. So when we use templates in FastAPI, we have to define what type of template it is. So I'm defining it as a Jinja template. There are other kinds of templates classes that you can use, but currently I'm using Jinja templates. So the directory name, that is templates. Inside that, the two templates are there. That is the base HTML and here. And here is the connection manager. Now this is
Shantanu, can I ask a question?
sure.
So just so line number 27, like what it does actually, like it binds the models with this app. Line number 27.
I said I come back to this because it
Okay.
is not part of the scope. I added authentication also. This basically creates
Uh,
the models are defined here. So if I go
uh,
in the database, the
right.
models are
Models.
defined here, right? So it
Mhm.
just create the tables with the model.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, this is nothing special. I will come to this also.
Sure.
So
Sure.
if we focus on this, so I define the templates class, and there is a connection manager. So imagine this. Imagine this endpoint. So here what I'm doing, here just from the templates, that I defined here. So it knows whatever templates inside this directory is, because you're bonding that this templates a variable, the ginger templates with this directory. So if I go down and I check, so I'm returning the chat room .html with the request, the room name, and the username. These room names or username are nothing but path variables that we're receiving from here. Okay, this is room name and this is the user. So we are receiving from here. So we are just passing it. So if we go back here, so we can check, we can access that variable here also, but I'm getting that from directly this URL path. But if we want, we can use that to Jinja templates terminology to reference that also, because we're passing that here. Okay, cool. So this page is now rendered, right? So what the next task we need to do? So inside that chat room HTML, we can see it is trying to connect to the WebSocket endpoint. So this is the WebSocket endpoint. So WebSocket / room name. So what is happening here basically? So what is happening? This is the manager. So this is the manager class. What are things that are defined as manager? There is a init function, and the connections is nothing but a dictionary. And there is a get members that gets particular that references particular room name and returns a list. So we can define it like this also. Define it like this also. So it returns a list. Okay. And there is a connect. So it does what? It puts particular users then in a particular chat room in that. So imagine this connections is a dictionary, and inside its dictionary there are rooms, and each room corresponds to a list. So each room has a particular number of users, because this dictionary has a list associated with it. So whatever is happening, so whenever a WebSocket connection is initiated from this uh, JavaScript end, then a separate instance, this while loop is running. So the WebSocket manager is connecting that WebSocket. So the WebSocket is received, right? So the WebSocket endpoint, the WebSocket received when this JavaScript endpoint is trying to connect to that WebSocket, and the room name is also passed here. So if we go on the connect function, what is happening? So we are just accepting the WebSocket first. Then we're checking if connections to that particular room is empty or not. So to show that particular dictionary, does it have any value or not? If it does not have any value, it is a new chat room. Then initiate with the empty list. Otherwise, just append that particular WebSocket to that list. So now what is happening? We're grouping particular chat room people together with this connections variable. So that whenever they connect, the particular dictionary key is populated with corresponding list of their participants. And this remove, what it does, it just basically removes that WebSocket on the particular room name. And we'll come to that private message shortly. So whatever is happening. So when it is, so after connecting it, so each WebSocket instance, so for each WebSocket connection, there will be multiple this session, this will be multiple times running. So let's say Rajesh connected. So for Rajesh, this while loop is running constantly on the background until his WebSocket connection is terminated. For Shantanu, also this while loop is running constantly until his WebSocket connection is terminated. So then what? So after that, we received a text. So whenever WebSocket we're going through that while loop over and over and over again until it terminates. So Shantanu and Rajesh are both connected to the particular WebSocket, particular chat endpoint. So whenever they receive text, we get the text, that is the data. Then we are getting the members, all the members. So manager get members for particular room name. If get manager or get member is not none, then get this all the members here. If it is none, then return a empty list. So root if no members are there in that particular room, then return an empty list. Otherwise, return the list of WebSockets inside the particular room. So this room members is either a list of WebSockets or empty. So if WebSocket is not in members, so let's say we are trying to connect to that room, but we are already not inside that room. Okay, so we just connect that one. So let's say for some reason it disconnected. Okay, so we just connect it again, try to connect it so that particular WebSocket and the particular room. So if he is already not here, even after connecting, so we will connect again to that particular room. So after that, what we do, we send the private message. So we send the data to particular room name. So let's see whatever is happening in the send private message section. So we define a living connection. So let's say some people are were connected to that particular WebSocket, but now they dropped off. We don't know, right? So we have to do some house cleaning stuff. So let's say 50 people were connected to that chat room. So maybe some dropped off. So we have to check that. So until the connection dot room, so this list length of this list is greater than 0. Then do what? Pop each WebSocket from that. Okay. So if the WebSocket exists from there, so let's say the WebSocket disconnected. So for some user, let's say for Rajesh, for some reason he closed the browser. So this exception will be executed, and his WebSocket will be removed from that chat room. We already saw how the remove function works. It just removes the WebSocket from the particular room name. So for some reason, let's say some people dropped off, then their WebSocket is not there, right? So we're just popping each WebSocket and sending a text message to that WebSocket and creating another list that is the living connections. And we're appending each WebSocket to it. After that, we are just reassigning that new refreshed list of the active people that are connected to that particular room to the connections and room name. So this is how this is working. And I already showed you how this works. So let's try again. I think it is still connected. Even if it is not connected, it will, the background tasks of each try to connect each 5 seconds will still execute in set interval. So if I go there and I say hi, let's see if it, yes, it went through from Rajesh. Let's say hello. And yep, it is working. So any questions on this end? I think I was quite comprehensive, but still, tell me if any questions you guys have. Am I
No,
audible?
sir. No, sir. Yes, you're audible.
All right, all right. So now it was done pretty quickly as I thought. So do you guys need want to see how authentication work? I can demonstrate that the extra thing I have done. Otherwise, we can close it if anybody doesn't have any questions. So anybody wants to see the authentication part, or should I close it?
Since we have some time, you can just explain.
All right. So how this works? So I just created, this is from the FastAPI documentation. So define an endpoint. So OAuth through password bearer. Here I'm doing the GAWT authentication. So I'm defining the login URL and a secret key. Define your own secret key. Do not copy anybody else's secret key. And the algorithm that we use for the hashing and the token expiry time. So how many, after how many minutes the token will expire. So I just added a 30 minutes. So what is happening from here? So if we go to the auth routes, so if I go here, and from here I go to FastAPI docs to the Swagger documentation. You can see currently there is no authentication applied here. Okay, so currently no authentication is applied here because we haven't added the authentication route. So this is the authentication route. So how do we add it? If I go to app, just like I added the user route, I will do this. Authentication, like auth routes, import routes, router as I will just include the router here. Refresh it, refresh the application, just close it, type like this, reload, and it will work on each save. So if I refresh it, so authentication route is now here, you can see. So what it requires a username and password. So if I add the username, so let's create a user first. Right out. Oh, the bcrypt is not here. So user is created. So if I try to log in with that user, let's say I go to the login endpoint, I try it out. You can see a token is given. So this token we can use to authenticate any endpoint. So to get inside any authenticated endpoints. So how do we do that? So first of all, let's see what we have done with the models. So here I define a DB user model, nothing special here. So this is the table name, ID, username, password, and date created. So other than that, if we go inside the database, there is a user operation. It is doing nothing but creating the user with the hasher. It is hashing the password and storing it inside the DB. Currently, it is using SQLite. So if we go inside the DB, it is using SQL Alchemy to initialize the engine and return the database, the database session. So that we're using inside here. So we are creating the database. So you see the model and whatnot. So if we need to authenticate an endpoint after that, so we can do what? We can basically do like this. So I've already imported the authentication bearer. So if I go to auth, so this is what is happening. So whenever a token is received here, this is the token. All right. So it is encoding the JWT and returns the encoded JWT. This is the authentication endpoint. And if I try to get a user from the particular token that the username that is using. So if we go to auth routes, so what is happening here? I'm getting the user from the database when I'm getting the authentication, and I'm getting the access token and returning. Otherwise, if I need to get the user from the authenticated token, I will just decode the token using JW decode. I will get the username from the data, and I will get the data user from the database and return the user. So that is how it is working. And if I want to authenticate a particular endpoint, I can do like this. So I say current user, and I can say a user auth, that is a schema that I made, and that is equal to that it depends get user from token. So now this endpoint is authenticated. So if we use a REST API, we can see that this endpoint is authenticated, and if we try to get some data from it, it won't work. So that is how authentication works, at least from the JWT end for FastAPI. So if anybody have any questions, please ask.
Shantanu, I have joined late, so we'll go through the video recording once again. So if I have some question, I will just ask you later.
All right, no problem, no problem.
And thank you.
So this was a very basic example. I think it was understandable because the authentication part, that is a little complicated. That is why I said key. And if anybody wants to see it, I can demonstrate it. But the WebSocket part, what this is pretty straightforward and how it will work. So I think it was clear. Anyways, thanks.
Thank you, Shantanu.
Yeah, thanks, Shantanu.
All right, Priya, is Priya there?
No, Priya is not here.
Okay, so I think we can stop the recording. Thank you, Shantanu.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye.